2019 was a historic year for women in venture capital. That, according to a new report from All Raise, a nonprofit that works with female founders and VCs and really the whole industry. Still, the march toward gender parity along Sand Hill Road is advancing slowly. All Raise CEO Pam Kostka is here to explain why. Pam, great to have you.
Thank you for having me this morning.
So tell me, what's the environment like now? Was there a big significant shift in 2019, and how much of that has to do with the economic environment?
There was pretty significant growth in 2019. We saw 52 new female GPs and partners named into venture capital, which was up 37% from the year before. So we're seeing some positive change moving forward, and that's for venture capital firms that have more than 25 million AUM, assets under management, and focus primarily on high tech, not on life sciences or corporate VC.
And how much do you think broader policy has to do with that? I'm thinking about, California SB 826, which says, hey, if you're a public company in California, you got to have some diversity on the board. Goldman Sachs moving with the companies that it works with to take public, saying we want to see some diversity on the board. Is that often VCs end up being on the board of a startup potentially? Do you think that's having any influence?
I think that it's a multi-impact scenario, and so that's having some influence. But we really believe that it is the economic availability that's at the table. Last year, Morgan Stanley said $4 trillion was being left on the table by not having diversity in the venture capital ecosystem, both at the venture capital firms as well as in the number of women who are female founders. And so that's a lot of money that's available and that people want to have access to and take advantage of.
I hear from female founders often that diversity in venture capital matters. And of course, we saw the incident at Lightspeed years back, harassment and how that affects the ecosystem, the controversy that Kleiner Perkins went through. What do you think is the legacy of the Lightspeed controversy, of Ellen Pao and her suit versus KP? How has that affected the environment we find ourselves in today and the progress, arguably, that we see?
Yeah, All Raise was born out of that moment, at Me Too movement in Silicon Valley. And so I think it was an impetus that started what we call the momentum and is now becoming a movement where change is happening. And we believe it's really driven by the economics of diversity and the value that's available. So that sparked the awareness, and now the economics are taking over of people saying, it's about getting diversity around the table so that we can have more diverse perspectives and thus have a better economic opportunity.
Pam, I'm curious, is it realistic, is it attainable to think that all of these existing VC firms that maybe don't already have some sort of female partner on board, that's where you're going to find gender parity by adding more women versus more women investors coming on and creating their own firms with their own new cultures? As I get tongue-tied.
We think both. Yeah, no, we think both. 65% of venture firms still don't have a single female partner on board. We see some very positive changes coming through. Some of the largest firms are now not adding just one, but multiple women to the table. So we really think that's looking at the top of the stack. But we also do see a lot of opportunity coming from the bottom as well, where women are forming their new firms. And so I think it's going to take both in order for us to enact the change that we want to see.
Looking at your report, you also highlight New York City as one of the most female founder-friendly locations in terms of funds secured via venture capital in the U.S. Why? What is it about New York that is so conducive to this?
I think New York just has a lot of different financial markets, a lot of different industry, fashion, retail, consumer, that make it a hotbed for being open to investment in women and female founders and wanting to have more venture capitalists around the table who can make sure that there is a diversity of perspective and that they can make different investments. Of course, one of the things that we see as a low light in the analysis is not only that 65% of companies don't have a single female partner, but women of color, specifically Black and Latinx women, are not well represented in the venture capital industry today. And that continues to be a problem that we want to focus on and that the industry needs to focus on.